Okay, hello and welcome to week 5 of Discoveries. Today we're looking at how you craft an engaging narrative opening, and to do that we're exploring Wolf Brother, which is a brilliant story by a writer called Michelle Paver. So what is Wolf Brother? Wolf Brother is a novel which was published in 2004. It's a fantastic story. It was one of my favourites when I was younger. It was written by Michelle Paver, who is a British writer, but she was born in Malawi in Africa, and she moved over here when she was 3 years old. She has a Belgian mother and a South African father, um, and she's a fantastic writer who's written a lot of different things. So this tells the story of Torak, who's a young boy, and his best friend Wolf, as they try to save the Stone Age world they live in, as it comes under threat from demons and mysterious forces. It is the first in a series of currently 7 books. There will be 9 in total. The most recent one, the 7th, has just come out, and I'm going to read that over the next few weeks myself. You can listen to the full Wolf Brother book online for free. The link is in the work booklet. It's all on YouTube, and you can find out more about the Stone Age in the booklet. The link is on the last page of the booklet. That'll take you to like a web page to read about it, and there's videos there as well. If you've not by this point, I would really recommend completing activity 1 first. It's just a plot summary task, and it just asks you what you think about what you think the story is going to be about to begin with. So do that and then pause this video and come back when you've completed it. So first things first, we're going to think about why the opening of a narrative or a story, narrative is just another word for story, why that is so important. So this first quote here, the top of the 3 bullet points. Story beginnings are important, and in terms of getting published, they're the most important part of a story. Your beginning is where the reader or editor decides whether to keep reading. Your beginning also sets the reader's expectations for the story's middle and ending. So really simply, it's just about grabbing the reader's attention. The first page or first part of a book, the aim is to grab the reader's attention, to make them interested, and in really simple terms, to make them want to read on. Hooking the reader is a term you'll hear often. In that first paragraph or two, or to some readers, that very first sentence does not generate interest. So if that does not make them interested, if it doesn't hook them and make them want to read more, it won't matter what else you do with the book or the story, because it's not going to be read. So that opening again has got to be really interesting. If you were to walk through a bookshop browsing books, it is likely you'll read the first page or 2 of those you pick up. If it is boring, you're going to put it straight back down. If it's interesting, if it's engaging, then you are going to want to continue reading it. So what can craft an engaging narrative opening? What helps to craft an engaging narrative opening? That's what we're beginning to think about. So I've got 6 ideas here, and not every narrative opening is limited to these 6 ideas. There is a greater range of ideas and techniques you can use, but this is what we're going to look at today and what you're ultimately going to try and imitate yourself. So firstly, we've got to create a hook. We've got to introduce a problem for the character. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to introduce a problem and try to get our reader interested through that. Again, Wolf Brother is a fantastic example of that, and we will look at how Michelle Paver does that in a minute. Number 2, introducing the setting. We've got to make this world that we're immersing our reader in feel real, feel authentic. So we've got to make it clear where the story is being set, where it's taking place straight away. Character or characters. The main character or characters we need to establish straight away. It's going to centre around them. The story is going to be, it might be from their point of view, so we need to introduce them early on. And they're going to be experiencing the problem as well, so it's vital that the main character or characters are introduced straight away. Short sentences is a lovely way that Michelle Paver in Wolf Brother increases the pace and the sense of worry in the opening of the story. She also uses questions to progress the narrative, to move it forward, and she uses pronouns to create a sense of mystery and anxiety to add to the hook, which when all these things come together, it makes us really engaged and interested in the opening of the story, makes us want to read on. So here is part of the opening of the story. It's the very first few paragraphs. I'm going to read it through first and foremost. Torak woke with a jolt from a sleep he'd never meant to have. The fire had burned low. He crouched in the fragile shell of light and peered into the looming blackness of the forest. He couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything. Had it come back? Was it out there now, watching him with its hot, murderous eyes? He felt hollow and cold. He knew that he badly needed food, and that his arm hurt, and his eyes were scratchy with tiredness, but he couldn't really feel it. All night he'd guarded the wreck of the spruce bough shelter and watched his father bleed. How could this be happening? Only yesterday, they had pitched camp in the blue autumn dusk. Torak had made a joke, and his father was laughing. Then the forest exploded. Ravens screamed, pines cracked, and out of the dark beneath the trees surged a deeper darkness, a huge rampaging menace in bear form. Suddenly death was upon them, a frenzy of claws, a welter of sound to make the ears bleed. In a heartbeat the creature had smashed their shelter to splinters. In a heartbeat it had ripped a ragged wound in his father's side. Then it was gone, melting into the forest as silently as mist. But what kind of bear stalks men, then vanishes without making the kill? What kind of bear plays with its prey? And where was it now? So as you can see on the right hand side, I've got the key here, and as you can see from the text itself, everything that's in that key corresponds with and is present in this extract, and I'll just talk you through it. Pay attention because you will want to use this technique or these techniques when you're writing your own narrative opening. So firstly, the hook. We've got a problem, okay? The first sentence itself says, Torak woke with a jolt from a sleep he'd never meant to have. Immediately we know something's not quite right, and that's just in the first sentence. The verb jolt creates this sense of uncertainty. It creates a sense of fear. Something's not quite right. We also know that he'd never meant to have the sleep. Was he supposed to be paying attention to something? He's obviously supposed to be on the lookout for something. And it's all clear from this first sentence. So straight away, this is the hook. This is the problem. Further down, we can see also in purple, had it come back? How could this be happening? This problem isn't going away anytime soon. We can see again that Michelle Paver is making it really clear that something is wrong, and that in turn hooks the reader. The setting in orange, you can see that there's a fire. We're in the forest. They pitched camp. So this is a campsite in the forest. Straight away, really simple, we know where we are. Characters in green. The first word of this whole story, and indeed of this whole series, is Torak. It's the name of the main character. We know immediately, and as you can see through the repetition of the pronoun he, again and again, we know that this is his story. We know that this centres around him. There's also reference to his dad and also to the bear, but we know that Torak is our main character. It's told from his point of view. Short sentences, so thinking about language techniques now. Something that Michelle Paver has used here is repeated short sentences. In that second paragraph, he couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything. And also further down, suddenly death was upon them, a frenzy of claws, a welter of sound to make the ears bleed. Now, not only does this increase the pace and the feeling of anxiety around the situation here, further hooking us into the story, Michelle Paver has also cleverly repeated the structure of these sentences. A frenzy of claws, a welter of sound, couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything, and it adds to that sense of panic. Questions, as you can see down the bottom, have highlighted in blue. But what kind of bear stalks men, then vanishes? What kind of bear plays with its prey? And where was it now? Torak doesn't know a lot of these answers. He's got to find them out. We are continuously asking questions. Torak asks these questions on our behalf. The writer wants us to want to find the answers to these questions and want to continue reading. Finally, as well, something Michelle Paver does really well here is the use of pronouns. A pronoun, if you're uncertain, is a word that replaces a name. Again, in that second paragraph, you can see in red, had it come back? Was it out there now, watching him with its hot, murderous eyes? The it, of course, is the bear, the dangerous bear, but we don't know that straight away. And the use of it creates a sense of mystery here. It creates further uncertainty, anxiety, and again adds to the hook that Michelle Paver has created, making us want to find out what it is, what has done this, what is he so scared of. Okay, so you can see there a range of different things just in a few short paragraphs, just in a tiny part of this story that gets us really interested straight away in this narrative. So it's important to think about the purpose of these features. You can pause the video here and read through these in more detail if you would like, but it's important that we think about why we need to use these components and then these language features. The hook, we know this problem we're going to create engages the reader immediately. We need to engage the reader. We need to include the setting to establish the world in which we're inviting the reader. We need to establish that world in which our story is set. It needs to feel real and believable. We need to introduce the main characters because this story is going to centre around them. It's about them. They've got to overcome a problem here. So we've got to introduce those main characters and think about the fact that this is going to be your reader's first impression of your characters here. Do you want them to appear brave, strong, thoughtful, quirky, maybe intelligent? How do you want to introduce your main character? Short sentences, on the other hand, in terms of language features, can help build tension, can help construct and give momentum to the pace of the narrative, and in that helps to hook the reader and throws them straight into the story. Questions, similarly, can help to build tension, can help to build the pace of a narrative, helps to hook the reader again, as it asks a lot of questions for them, and it signals to the reader that they will learn the answers to these questions if they keep reading. Pronouns, again, as we've talked about briefly, creates mystery and ambiguity. So lots of uncertainty around the problem, around this opposition that Torak faces. In your writing, if you're going to create an opposition, a problem, you could use this to your advantage for a mysterious creature or person of your choice. You could use pronouns like them, they, he, she, we to create the same effect and really have the reader uncertain and feel uncertain about maybe what this problem is. So you need to consider in your writing, now we've looked at an expert example ourselves, you need to take forward with you that we're going to create our own narrative opening as part of the work booklet using these ideas. Okay, so you will need a hook. Okay, you need that problem, you need that sense of worry, that sense of anxiety that makes the reader ask questions and makes them want to carry on reading your story. You need to build tension, therefore, you need to introduce your setting, and you need to introduce your characters. And to do this, this is where the techniques we can use come in. You can use short sentences to build tension and pace, as we've said, questions to hook the reader and progress the narrative, and pronouns to create a sense of mystery and uncertainty. Okay, so everything is there for you to go forward now and use in your own writing. Don't forget you can use other language techniques as well, so similes, metaphors, repetition, all that stuff that you know from class so well. But this is specifically what we are focusing on today. Good luck with your stories, and I'm sure they'll be fantastic.